What if I told you the most important story in the Bible isn't about kings or prophets or even miracles, but about slavery, escape, and a God who refuses to abandon his people? This is the story of Exodus. And once you understand it, the entire Bible starts to make sense. The story began with the Hebrews living in Egypt. At first, they were guests. Then they grew. And when they grew too powerful, Pharaoh enslaved them. They were forced into brutal labor. Egypt became a prison. But behind the scenes, God had not forgotten a promise he had made generations earlier to Abraham, that his descendants would be free. And that was when a baby was born, who should not have survived. That baby was Moses. He was hidden, rescued, and raised in Pharaoh's own household. But years later, after killing an Egyptian, Moses had to flee into the desert. 40 years passed. Then Moses saw something amazing, a burning bush that was not consumed by the fire. God spoke. God called him by name. And God sent him back to confront the most powerful ruler on earth. Moses demanded freedom for his people. Pharaoh refused. What followed was a showdown between false gods and the true God. Moses was determined to show Pharaoh who the real God is. Moses turned his staff into a serpent. He placed his hand in his cloak. It became leprous. Then it healed. He commanded the river Nile to be turned into blood. But Pharaoh wasn't impressed. His heart hardened. More plagues were then served as divine judgments upon Egypt. Frogs swarmed the land. Lice and flies spread. Egyptian livestock died. People got sick. Hail, locusts, and darkness covered the land. Each plague stripped away Egypt's power, but Pharaoh's heart remained hardened until the final plague. God told the Hebrews to mark their doors with lamb's blood. That night, death passed over their homes, but struck Egypt's firstborn. Pharaoh finally broke. The Hebrews left Egypt in the dead of night, free at last. But freedom did not come easily. Pharaoh changed his mind and chased them. The people were trapped, army behind them, the Red Sea in front. Then God parted the waters. Israel walked through on dry ground. The sea closed behind them. The empire that had enslaved them was gone. God led them into the desert, feeding them with quail, manna, and providing water, protecting them daily. Then they reached Mount Sinai. Here, God gave Moses the 10 Commandments. But while Moses was on the mountain, the people panicked. They built a golden calf. They worshipped it. It was betrayal. Immediately after being saved, Moses interceded. God showed mercy. The covenant was renewed, but the damage lingered. At Sinai, God had given them the law, but he also gave them a blueprint for something extraordinary: the Ark of the Covenant, a sacred chest overlaid with gold, with 2 cherubim overshadowing a seat of mercy. It would hold the 10 Commandments and rest in the tabernacle, a portable sanctuary. God was no longer just delivering his people. He was dwelling among them. For 40 years, they wandered the wilderness, chasing a promise they could not yet see. God had a purpose: to humble them and to test them, to reveal what was in their hearts. God led them through the wilderness in a surprising way, not with a map, but with a presence. By day, God appeared as a pillar of cloud. By night, a pillar of fire. This wasn't just navigation. It was reassurance. Wherever the pillar moved, the people followed. When it stopped, they rested. God wasn't just giving directions. He was staying with them. The cloud reminds us that God leads even when the path isn't clear. The fire reminds us that God brings light when everything feels dark. Different forms, same presence, constant, faithful, and close. When it was finally time to enter the Promised Land, fear took over. They were afraid that the inhabitants were too powerful to defeat. Spies were sent to scout the land. They saw formidable armies, fortified cities, and people who appeared as giants. But God had a way. Joshua led them to the Jordan River, where God would once again work wonders by opening a path through the waters. The riverbed dried up, allowing everyone to cross. God instructed Joshua to have the priests carry the Ark of the Covenant across. The people followed behind, stepping at last into the land they had been waiting for. This marked the end of 40 years of wilderness wandering and the beginning of the conquest of the Promised Land. The land that was sworn to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, not earned by perfection, but given by a God who keeps His word. Exodus is not just history. It is the story of promise, hope, and freedom. As the second book of the Bible, it invites you to step into the full story. If you like this video, please follow for more.